The best thing about the sequels is that they tried. So many new concepts and possibilities were explored. However, a movie can't be a montage of memorable moments. Consistency matters, and the most inconsistent part is the villains. In the spirit of trying something new, let's try a team that could tie together the trilogy by reinventing the Star Wars story. On this episode of Curious, I'm asking, could the Knights of Ren save the sequels? A hero is only as good as their villain. The sequels have memorable heroes, but forgettable villains who suffer from the same three issues: wasted potential, conflicting motivations, and predictable personalities. Kylo is the exception, but I'll get to him later. By replacing the villains we got with Knights of Ren, those issues can be solved. Across the trilogy, all 5 characters would get screen time to show their potential. As a cult of warriors, they serve the same interests, yet they each have a preferred approach to problem solving, which makes them unpredictable. Basically, imagine the Knights of Ren as the Sinister Six from Spiderman. Each member is a unique challenge based on new force abilities as well as fighting styles. Together, they present an impossible threat to newcomers Rey, Finn, and Poe, so what if the Knights start out separated to cause issues in multiple places? This creates interesting stakes and pressure for the heroes to deal with.
Oh, I can do this. I can do this.
I can do this. I can do this.
Now, some of you may argue there's not enough screen time for 5 villains. Just look at Spider-Man No Way Home. Lizard and Sandman were pointless additions to that story. Even Electro was more comedic relief than villain. But that's just inefficient storytelling. More screen time does not equal better or memorable characters. Darth Vader had just 9 minutes in Episode 4, Darth Maul had 6 minutes in Episode 1, and the most famous bounty hunter, Boba Fett, had only 3 minutes of screen time over the entire original trilogy. All of them are iconic, partly due to efficient storytelling. Of course, efficiency is easy when paired with repetition. The Force Awakens famously recycles A New Hope's plot, although the writers hamstring story potential by playing it safe. This brings up iteration versus innovation.
They fly now! They fly now! They fly now!
Iterating is applying the same formula repeatedly with minor tweaks each time until a solution is found. Innovating means introducing something entirely new that changes what's already established. Obviously, Disney focused on iterating Star Wars' past more than innovating its future. In fact, that's the reason Kylo is the exception to the problems other villains face. His abilities are the product of iteration. All his force powers are taken from fellow Knights of Ren. Vikrul uses the Force to give him heightened reflexes in battle. Ushar is the knight most known for his torture techniques and tactics. Aplik is a sadistic knight who favors deception and trickery, using stealth and misdirection to lure his opponents into a trap. And so on. Sure, that counts as efficient writing, but it undercuts how powerful this cult is, and reduces Captain Phasma, General Hux, and Snoke to mediocre threats next to Kylo. Why not reverse engineer that decision and have the whole cult be the villains? Each time Kylo displays the Force, have that specific knight do it instead. Let the interrogator torture Poe. Let the hunter capture Rey. Let the strategist figure out Finn's resistance. This keeps the power scaling consistent between villains, and balances the hero's chances of winning. Showcasing each knight's use of the Force also reveals a lot about them to the audience. That's why a team would greatly innovate the type of Star Wars stories that are told, as long as tropes are avoided. ditch the cliche power struggle between bad guys in favor of actual camaraderie. Show the knights care about each other. When one dies, the rest mourn. If one is captured, a furious assault takes place to free them. As much as fans dunked on Kylo's emotional outbursts, it's cathartic to see an unbridled display of passion. A serious antagonist can be intimidating, but a wild, chaotic mercenary is just as scary. I'm not saying all the knights should be as undisciplined as Kylo. I just want more brotherhood. As heroes grow together or apart, so should the villains. Loyalty was exploited by the Sith, but blind commitment and raw strength defined the dark side of the Force. Speaking of blind commitment,
You're gonna let something off your chest. Maybe now's not the worst time.
I'm the spy.
What? You?
when Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion, the intention was clear. Their biggest profit comes from selling nostalgia, which this franchise has accrued for 47 years. In my Andor video, I explained how Disney weaponizes nostalgia, with The Force Awakens being one of the biggest victims. Even the villains themselves are remakes of past designs. A chrome stormtrooper, a military general, an emperor in robes. There's nothing wrong with paying homage as long as you maintain a unique identity. If the goal really is to usher in the next generation of Star Wars, then Force Awakens shouldn't continue the Skywalker saga. It should be a post-mortem.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
The Knights of Ren represent a new breed of villainy that forge a different story direction, which is exactly what George Lucas did with each episode. Expand what we thought was possible. I actually wrote an entire fanfiction for the trilogy with Knights of Ren. Some highlights include Poe's X-Wing squad facing off against a knight, Kylo being frozen in carbonite as a callback to Han, and Finn becoming the last Jedi. If y'all want a video breaking down my rewrite of the sequels trilogy, let me know in the comments. Keep staying curious, and I'll catch you next time.